Hello, welcome to another edition of the OK Preps Extra podcast. I'm Patrick Prince, joined as always by high school sports editor Barry Lewis. Very couple big things to talk about, a couple really kind of blockbuster high school moves. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that and kind of what you found unusual about them?
Yes, 2 weeks ago when we did our last podcast, Shaker Reisig was the quarterback at Jenks looking to win it. I'm sorry, I'm getting distracted by.
That's okay. Welcome to another edition of the OK Preps Extra podcast. I'm Patrick Prince, joined as always by our high school sports editor, Barry Lewis. Barry, a couple very high profile transfers on the high school front to talk about. Why don't you kind of jump in and tell us a little bit about those transfers and kind of what you found unusual about them?
Yes, in 4 decades of covering high school football, I've covered a lot of move-in or transfer situations, but nothing quite like this, what we've seen in the last 2 weeks. It was on Friday, May 27th, when my colleague Bill Haston called me and said, "Are you sitting down? I've just heard a rumor that Shaker Reisig, the quarterback at Jenks, who helped them win a state championship last year as a freshman, and he's already got major college offers, that Bill had heard that he was going to move to Union. Under any circumstance, that would be stunning news, especially going from a state champion to your top rival. But to me, personally, it was even more stunning because just 17 hours earlier, I'd been talking to Shaker at Jenks's practice. And nothing seemed out of the ordinary that day. Everything seemed normal. Everyone was remembering the past season and looking forward to the 2022 season. And so I thought at first, well, that report's got to be wrong. I was just talking to Shaker yesterday. Well, Bill, 30 minutes later, confirmed it. Wow, that was a blockbuster move. No one saw that one coming. And then to follow that up with the events of this past weekend, when Jackson Presley, one of the top freshmen to be quarterbacks in California, who's already got major college offers even before he's taken his first high school varsity snap, he announces on Twitter that he's moving to Jenks, his dad's alma mater. And so I mean, that's something that would be like out of a Hollywood script, of course. Jackson's dad, Brian, who was a quarterback on a state championship team at Jenks, is an actor, producer. So I guess that's fitting. It reminded me of something out of Friday Night Lights, the TV show,
Right.
which I loved, which was like ran from 2006 to 2011, but which I really thought has done the best job of capturing the atmosphere of high school football. But when they would do a plot line like this, I thought, oh, that's just totally unbelievable. That couldn't happen, but I'll give them that. I'll give them that dramatic license because it really captured high school football so well. And then lo and behold, you've got something like this happen. I mean, it really is something out of a Hollywood script. And so the way it looks like, except for the other quarterbacks at those schools, perhaps that everything is working out for Jenks and for Union. So it is quite the blockbuster, head-turning events of the last couple of weeks. And then to see them both on the field last night at the passing league at Union, that was quite the experience. And they both look good. All the quarterbacks for their teams looked good. Of course, you'd expect them to. Shaker looked like Shaker, the Shaker that we saw last year. And Jackson Presley looked like the quarterback. He looks the part. He looks like the quarterback you've seen videos of. And wow, that's all you can say about the last 2 weeks of those high-profile moves.
So when you spoke to Shaker at Jenks that day, how long did you guys talk?
We didn't talk that long. I was going there to basically for some interviews that we were going to use later in the summer, and some of which we will still use later on. I was talking to Shaker and 4 of his teammates, and just basically looking ahead to the season. So at some points it was a group interview, and for a brief moment I talked with Shaker one-on-one, and it's just stuff like I asked Shaker, "Who's your favorite quarterback?" And he was joking around and saying, "People around here might not like this, but it's Spencer Rattler." So it was, but it was just it was just a typical near the end of spring practice type of interview, especially for a defending state champion, when you're looking back at the previous season, but looking ahead as well. Because asking Shaker, because more responsibility was going to be given to him this year at Jenks, because last year is basically, a lot of it was just sort of managing the game. Jenks had and still has great running backs with Jaden Carroll and Jalen Stanford. So there wasn't a lot of pressure on the quarterback last year because you had such a great running game and a great defense. But Shaker was looking forward to, having doing more this year with the passing offense, and Jenks has some great receivers, and everything just seemed full speed ahead. And then boom, things change, and that leads to last night, where I'm seeing Shaker on the field with Union, his new teammates at Union, and then I'm seeing Jackson Presley with his new teammates at Jenks.
Was there any interaction between the two at Union the other night?
I was not there the whole time. They were both, I didn't see any interaction between them. Not that I would expect any, because they're both focused at the time I was there. They're both focused on their own teammates, and they should be, because they both have got some learning to do and get used to their new teammates. But that's typical for one of those passing leagues. I mean, you're with your team and you're focused on your own business. But I guess what makes these, there have always been move-ins and transfers in high school football. I mean, you go way back to Kewan Jones in 2000, when he shocked some people, moving from Hale to Jenks. And there's been move-ins well before that too. But what makes this unusual, and there have been quarterback move-ins in recent years, especially among the quote, big four, now it's big five schools. But usually you could see them coming, or there was a reason for them, like Austin Havens moving from just a few months ago. It seems like a long time ago now, but he shocked some people from moving from Owasso to Bixby. But you could sort of see that one coming a little bit, because he had lost his starting job at the end of last year. Austin had 2 really good seasons, but had lost his job to Mason Willingham, who himself was a move-in from Skiatook. And so you could understand why that was coming. Maybe he needed a change of scenery, going to Bixby. But to have a quarterback who's just been a starter as a freshman on a state championship team, which is in 6A1, incredibly rare in itself, then at first you just didn't see why this would happen. So that's what was stunning. There's never been a move quite like that. And then you've got Jackson Presley. Again, this was sort of like a Hollywood script type of move. I haven't seen anything on that level, going from California to his dad's alma mater. So this is really unique. But again, all the big four, or quote now big five schools through the years, have all benefited from move-ins and have been stung by players leaving. So but the only thing that makes these stand out is that these are pretty unique stories. At Union, it already looked like, not wanting to discount Grayson Tempest, who is a returning starter quarterback for Union, but it looked like they were going to have, even before Shaker moved over there, it looked like they were going to have a new starting quarterback anyway, with Simeon Gilkey, junior, move in from Bartlesville, who's very talented, was hurt a lot of last year, but he's got a lot of potential. A lot of teams would love to have him as their quarterback, and he's still in the competition for the starting job at Union. Nothing's going to be given to Shaker, but Simeon Gilkey's in fact, Simeon just visited last week in Union. I'm not Union, but Indiana, which there's a picture of him on Twitter with Kevin Wright, the former Union head coach, because Kevin Wright is now an assistant at Indiana. Had a great visit with Coach Wright there, which is sort of like interesting combination.
Right.
Considering now, I guess 15 years later, Kevin Wright's recruiting Union players. So, but anyway, Simeon Gilkey, really talented, outstanding move in. His brother, Maddox, outstanding lineman, move in from Bartlesville. That's going to help Union. Union also got another big time sophomore move in from Jenks. Jesse Jones, who played quite a bit as a freshman offensive lineman last year, but his dad is on the Union coaching staff. So you've seen moves like this in the past where some high profile athletes, sometimes the move has come because their dad has been moved on to the new school, been either hired as an assistant or as a head coach. So are a parent in another position.
Do you think high school athletics, and I'm just talking about in Oklahoma or in our area really, is starting to mirror the college game a little bit with the transfer portal? Is that a fair comparison to make, or is that not a fair comparison?
I think it's a fair comparison because although I haven't seen any numbers on like total, I don't know if they're even kept, probably not even kept as far as total move-ins or transfers, however you want to define them. I just get the sense that there are more right now. There's been an increase. And I think a lot of that is the influence of the transfer portal because now it's becoming sort of like the in thing to do. I mean, you see it at the college level. So, hey, why not the high school level? And I'll say it even at least in Oklahoma, may go back to 2016 when Kevin Durant left the Oklahoma City Thunder. He showed that there's no loyalty to a team. So why not hit the free agent route and look to win championships that way? So I think that might have got the ball rolling. And then you've got the transfer portal. And, when players are just moving at the college level at the drop of a hat, why not the high school level? As Bill Haston wrote so well today, it just really is mirroring, and it really mirrors free agency in the pros, especially the way the quarterback situations are playing out, because one move affects another. So it's not something as an old school person as I am. I'm on one hand, I really don't like to see all this moving around, but on the other hand, I do understand why it's happening, especially in high school as a quarterback. You think you've got the ability to play college football and you want the best opportunity to showcase your talents, or at any position or in any sport. It doesn't have to be football. So I can understand why these moves are being made, and you want to get yourself in the best position to showcase your talents and to play for a winning team.
What do you think the OSSAA thinks about all this?
I think there's nothing that the OSSA basically, they're the members. So there's nothing really that they can do about it. As long as all the moves are made, or all the move-ins, all the regulations are followed, then they're just going to sit back and you can't really do anything. The only time that they can step in is if some rules are not being followed as far as the move-in process.
Yeah, and I certainly don't mean to suggest anybody's breaking any rules or whatever, but just there seemed like you pointed out, there seems to be just this culture of transferring, and it just seems like it's happening more and more. And I just generally wonder what the governing body of high schools has to say about it. Yeah, not suggesting,
Right, and it's happening. It's just obviously football gets most of our attention, but it happens in all sports too. There are some very important move-ins from this past year in other sports. Look what Aaron Potter moving from Owasso to Booker T he transformed Booker T's program to back into a state title contender again. You had Noah Smallwood move from Claremore to Owasso and helped Owasso get back on top in Class 6A baseball. So there's move-ins in all sports. We seem to pay attention, understandably so, because football is king in Oklahoma. We tend to focus on the football aspect of it.
Sure. All right. Anything else on that point you want to make, Barry?
We could go on and on.
Exactly.
Another big move-in for Union is Devon McKinney, who's moved, because it's a big distinction between moves and transfers. If you transfer, often you have to sit out a year unless you get a hardship waiver. But Devon McKinney moved from Booker T. Washington to Union, which is the second he's one of the outstanding running backs in this area. And this is the second year in a row where Booker T has lost its top rusher to a premier 6A1 school. If you recall, Jaden Carroll moved last year from Booker T to Jenks. And he had a huge impact in Jenks winning the state title last year. And I know it because I've talked with Jaden about it. I haven't talked with Dion, but you're looking for the best opportunity to showcase your talents. And Jaden thinks that Jenks was a better situation for him. And it certainly looks like that. I mean, it's worked out really well for him.
It's way early for this question, Barry, but I'll ask you anyway. Are you thinking that Jenks would be your preseason number one going into the fall, or I'm wondering, does Jackson Presley's move in change how you feel about Jenks? Because like you said, Shaker Riceek led them to the state title last year and they're already loaded. Adding a piece like Jackson Presley, who hadn't taken a varsity step yet, does that change how you feel about him?
I think the addition after they lost Shaker, I think adding Jackson certainly helps Jenks's chances, although I really like Ike Owens. The other quarterback has sort of been lost in this mix a bit, but Ike Owens last year started the first couple games, and that may happen this year. As far as like Jackson Presley may not start from day one. I don't know. I think that's still to be determined. But last year you had Ike Owens start the first couple games, and that sort of helped ease the transition for Shaker. I think that was very helpful for him because, face it, being the quarterback of a perennial 6A1 power and our defending state champion, which Jenks is, a freshman, I mean, you can look good in everything and be impressive in practice and everything, but there's nothing like taking that first snap for real under the Friday night lights and have everyone looking at you. So I think having Ike Owens start at the beginning of last year, because every game is a high profile situation for Jenks, I think that helped Shaker's transition. And Coach Riggs at Jenks kept Ike. He gave Ike even after Shaker became the starting quarterback, he gave Ike a lot of playing time. So it wasn't like Ike was just totally didn't do anything the rest of the season after Shaker became a starter. I think Ike Owens is a very solid quarterback. He looked good throwing the ball today. I was there in practice at Jenks. He looked good throwing the ball last night. So he's still a solid quarterback. So I don't know if it's really a guarantee that Jackson Presley is going to start from day one, because it may be just like the situation with Shaker last year. And then, of course, you got at Union. I mean, Simeon Gilkey, he still plans to compete for the starting job, and he's a very talented quarterback. So it's a very interesting situation. And Grayson Tempest as well.
Point, Barry. Yeah, absolutely. All right, let's leave that there for now. More discussion on this in the future, I'm sure. We have some dates to share. Why don't you share some of them? Well, All World we already knew about, but why don't you throw out some important dates for those listening in?
All right. Well, the spring sports, the All World teams for the spring sports are going to be published from July daily. We've got 9 of them from July 2nd through July 10th. So look for that as we announce our athlete of the year candidates in each of those sports, as well as first team honors and second team honors, an honorable mention. So that's something to look forward to. That's July 2nd through July 10th. And we've also planned to have our Tulsa all world preseason position rankings and voting starting on Sunday, July 3rd. And then, of course, we've got the All World Awards banquet scheduled for Tuesday night, August 2nd at the Renaissance Hotel. And tickets are available at tulsaworld.com or allworldawards.com.
That's it.
So
all right,
well, going on.
Yeah. It's supposed to be summer, Barry. There's supposed to not be all this going on. All right, good stuff as always. We'll who knows? We may have another transfer to talk about next week, but we'll leave it there for now. Thanks, Barry. Talk to you next week.
Sounds good, Patrick.